one of the reasons I focus on the front office is they're the first and last impression of every appointment. Mm-hmm. And you could be an amazing dentist, but if I stink at the front desk and I'm not nice and I don't collect their balance and I don't schedule them, that experience is ruined, and it doesn't matter how great you are as a dentist. So really,
they may not even get a chance to experience us because they're turned off before they even have a chance to step through the door. So you're absolutely right. Welcome to another episode of The Irreplaceable Dental Assistant. I have a fabulous guest here today. Her name is Laura Nelson, but I'm not going to tell you about her. I'm going to throw the microphone to her and allow her to tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome, Laura.
Well, thank you. We are opposite time zones, opposite parts of the country. How are you?
I am well.
Good.
Loving the fact that despite that we're so far away, we can touch and agree.
I agree. Well, so thank you for having me. I'm super excited. We've been connected through people for years, but this is great for us to talk. I'm Laura, as you mentioned, and I'm the founder of Front Office Rocks. So I have been in the dental industry. We were just talking about this over 20 some years, long time. And have been an office manager for a very long time, and then started about 10 years ago an online training website called Front Office Rocks. So that's how you and I've kind of gotten connected, which I'm sure we'll talk about during this time. But that's who I am.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself. Tell me just a little bit about Front Office Rocks, if you will.
Yes, for sure. So my background prior to dental was in business, organizational development, sales, marketing, management, all of that. And I married a guy prior to dental school who went to dental school, University of Maryland, right down the street from you.
Yeah.
And then he graduated, was an associate for a couple of years, and then decided to open his own practice. He asked me to run the front and he would be in the back. And that's kind of how I got thrown into dental 20 some years ago. And I spent many hours and years and time learning everything I could about dental because I didn't have dental experience. And over that time, I also talked with a lot of dentist friends of mine who went through dental school, who we talked about how to build a good practice. And a lot of people wanted me to be a consultant, which I didn't want to do, but we had built at that point 2 practices, one on the East Coast, and then we moved to the West Coast and we built one in San Diego. And I knew that the front office team specifically was my focus in the beginning, needed more. I mean, consulting is great, but I didn't want to do it. And I felt the thing that was missing in our industry was training. I talked to my dental friends and I would say, you don't have to hire somebody with dental experience for the front office, but you just need to hire someone with good personality and we can teach them dental. And their response was always, well, who's going to teach them the dental? Like somebody has to teach them dental. And so that's where I came up with the idea for Front Office Rocks. I don't just teach dental, but I teach everything that the front office team member needs to know who's never worked in a dental office before, and then more customer service and case acceptance and all of the things that I have from my background. So I started filming videos 10 plus years ago with the idea a few of my friends would use it. And it grew to now we've trained thousands and thousands of team members across the country. So that's kind of my evolution into, my part in helping our industry and helping team members be successful and dentists be successful in the front office.
Well, as a dentist, Laura, I can tell you that dental school trains us to do the nuts and bolts things.
Yep.
But it does not train us to be entrepreneurs. It doesn't train us to be leaders. So people in our industry who train or who support us in training our team members, absolute gold. So thank you.
You're welcome. And one of the things that I've seen that I love, because I knew that, being married to someone through dental school, I knew that he got no business experience. And as a dentist, you know, when you're running your practice, you know what the assistant should do and the hygienist should do. That's clinical. But a lot of dentists would go past their front desk and know what they're doing isn't what they should be doing, but they don't know how to fix it. They don't know how to train them. And I knew that they didn't teach that in dental school. And so for you to truly be a leader of your organization, you should know what every role should do. You don't have to do it. Just like I don't have to be a dentist. You don't have to, do the schedule, but you should know how to build a good schedule and how to answer the phones. And so one of the things I'm finding is a lot of dentists now are watching my videos. A lot of assistants are watching my videos to cross-train, like they're there and accessible so that at least you understand what should be happening, which is great, to have the availability for that.
So I'll go one step further. Not only do they not know, but in the office, there's no time.
Right. Yeah.
So to have someone come in or to be able to watch videos during downtime or during that hour of lunch or whatever, it's just such a good thing. Because here is somebody who knows what they know. They can pour into us. We can make the decisions as to how we're going to customize it for our office. But yay. So thank you. I have a quick question to ask you, Laura. I saw something recently that said people were willing to spend more with companies they believe provide excellent customer service. Laura, how important is that data to the dental team?
That's 100%. That is like one of the foundations of what I speak on, in the sense of a patient doesn't know if you're a good dentist or not. I mean, you don't see patients walking around going, look at the margin, showing their teeth, look at the shade match. Like they might know if they're in pain, they might know your bedside manner or if you've done cosmetic, but overall patients only really know the experience when they're in your office. And customer service is the way to give the patient an amazing experience. Now, customer service, it directly translates into case acceptance in my mind. If you were expecting a patient to pay more, they're expecting more of a value. They don't like paying for drills and needles. They don't like paying for crowns. They're paying for the best we can do for the experience. We can't take the drills and needles away, but we can make the experience great. But one of the things that really needs to be defined for every practice is, what is customer service? What is it for your practice? Your practice is going to be different than my practice. It depends on where you're located. It depends on your team, your patient base. So really, customer service is a vague term. It really needs to be defined. In your practice, does it mean, stand up, greet the patient, shake their hand, greet them by name, welcome them back, give them a hug? Some practices, when we're not socially distanced, every practice is different. But for the leader and for the dentist, it's important for you to define what is that for your staff. Like, what do you want them to do? Because that patient experience, one of the reasons I focus on the front office is they're the first and last impression of every appointment. And you could be an amazing dentist, but if I stink at the front desk and I'm not nice and I don't collect their balance and I don't schedule them, that experience is ruined, and it doesn't matter how great you are as a dentist. So it's really,
they may not even get a chance to experience us because they're turned off before, they even have a chance to step through the door. So you're absolutely right. Laura, I've heard you say that the most important thing we do is take care of our patients. Can you share a little bit more about what you mean by take care of patients?
Yeah. So the longer we get into dental, I used to say it was dentists. Now I say it's the entire team. The longer we're in dental, the more we get into a dental box. And what I mean is, the more we're focused on insurance, the more we're focused on overhead, production, collections, the schedule, the numbers, the insurances, which is all part of what we do every day. But when we start focusing on only the dental box, we forget about the business box. And the business box is, our patients pay our bills. Our patients are the reasons we all have jobs. And if there's a patient in your chair, if there's a patient in your reception area, if there's a patient in front of you, I understand we have to be efficient. We need to turn over rooms and we need to do insurance, but we don't need to do it in lieu of taking care of our patients. We really need to put our patients first, and recognizing that for the front, for the assistants, for the doctors, the longer our patients sit there and not being taken care of, it's very easy for them to find a way to make an excuse not to come back to our practice. And we do that long enough, we're not going to have jobs and patients to take care of.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But I'd add a little bit more to that, Laura. So one of the things I try to do in my practice is call patients after hours, especially those who've gotten anesthetic, to see how they're doing. Because if they're having a challenge, I want to know early. Mm-hmm. And that is something that whether you work at the front or whether you work in the clinical area, you can do as value added, mm-hmm. And the patients are like, oh my God, can you believe they call me after hours? Mm-hmm. So I think that what I would say, in addition to what you're saying, is that taking care of patients is anything that is above and beyond for people to feel that it's not just about the filling, but it's about you going above and beyond to make them feel comfortable, supported, to make them feel at home.
Yeah. And one of the things that I teach is I talk about, because we all have, our team members have to make decisions on an hourly basis, every 10, 15, whatever. We have to decide, do I need to do this for the patient? What does that look like? Mm-hmm. So my basic level is, if you would want it done for your mom or your aunt or your grandma, do it for the patient. So if it means you see it's raining outside and they're walking in from their car and you can go grab an umbrella and walk them in, would you want someone to do that for your mom? Then do it for the patient. And like you said, you would want a doctor to call your mom after a procedure to see how your mom is doing. Then that's the basics of the customer service. So really that for me, it's in and I always say a family member, if you'd want your family member done, a family member you like. So if it's like your cousin Vinny, you don't care about it, let's not think of him, but like mom, grandma, aunt, that's who we want to keep in our mind when we're trying to decide what do we do.
Okay, apologies to all the nice guys out there whose name is Vinny.
Vinny, exactly, right? Exactly.
Oh, Laura, what are some things that a dental assistant can do to provide amazing customer service?
I'm going to tell a secret here.
Yes.
And I don't say this very often because the name of my business is Front Office Rocks. So I'm all about the front office, right? But my secret here is I actually think the dental assistant is the hardest worker in the practice. I think the dental assistant is the most unappreciated, hardest worker. Okay. So granted, we're called a piece of furniture because we're front desk. At least you're not called a piece of furniture. But so the dental assistant has a really hard role. It really does, because you are run by the schedule. You have to keep the doctor happy. You have to make sure that a procedure is efficient. And you've got a person in your chair who many times is afraid of the dentist. They don't want to be there. They don't like the experience. There's fears and all of that. So there's a lot to balance, balls in the air when you're back there. So the number one thing I would think for the dental assistant, for the patients, is just remembering that is a person in a chair, and really, people don't like to wait. People don't like to be in fear. People don't like to know the unknown. They like to know what's happening next. What am I waiting for? Where's the dentist? What do I expect? And just, again, good communication, putting yourselves. The longer we're in dental, the more we forget how much people don't like it because we're used to it. We're used to the drills and the needles and all of that. So every day trying to put yourself in the patient's shoes. And yes, we have to be efficient, and yes, we have to turn over rooms, and yes, we have to help our dentist. But if it means putting your hand on the shoulder of the patient and saying, are you doing okay? Can I get you anything? I'm here with you. That just goes, that extra mile for the patient.
I think we're on the exact same page, Laura. And I agree with you. We undervalue many times that dental assistant, who I say is the glue. That's the patient. When I've finished explaining, once I've left the room, the dental assistant now has to really decipher what the doctor just said.
Exactly. Right. So true. And the patient looks at that dental assistant and says, do I need it? And they're confirming or not confirming what's needed.
Yes. And also, that is the person who they're going to say, you think I should do it?
Mhm.
It's very relational between the dental assistant and the patient.
Right.
So I say, yeah, I do respect the front desk, but that dental assistant really is the connector between our clinical area and our patients, and then to the front desk as well. So thank you for that. I heard you say once, and I'm going to whisper this, patients can hear and feel far more than we know. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, I so many times we think if the patient is facing one way at 6 o'clock, we're behind their head. They can't feel or hear what's being said behind their head. But there's a thing called culture we all have in our businesses. And culture, there's many ways to define culture, but I define it as the energy that is in your business. You can feel the energy of any business when you walk in. Are they happy? Are they not? Is this a great place or not? Do they love working here? And that is what patients feel when they're not looking at us, but they're behind us. So there's no reason that we should be saying anything in our practices that you can't say in front of the patient. Gotcha. If you've got to vent a little bit, go out for a glass of wine at nighttime with your girlfriends and do it there. But do not, because that's the energy. First of all, it's the energy we feel, right? And then we start not liking going to work because we have people not getting along and whispering and instruments being slammed and all that. But then also remember the patient experience. The patient deserves a good experience. And when we're whispering, even if I know something about the patient and they're in the chair and you're the doctor, there's no reason I need to go behind the 12 o'clock cabinet and whisper to you that the patient doesn't want to do the crown. Right. I should be able to say that right in front of the patient.
Absolutely.
So we can have the conversation with the patient, because think about when you were a kid, right? When two people are whispering, what do you assume they're talking about, right? Yep. And we don't want our patients to feel that way, right? We want them to feel like our environment, the culture, and what's being said. So
okay, so now I'm putting the pieces together. That's what you mean when you say #stop the whisper.
Stop the whisper. There's no reason to be whispering in the dental office, because here's the thing. Here's what I tell everybody when I'm teaching. The number one thing we can do is smile. Just smile, right? And if you could be in the back operatory and I could be at the front desk and we can see each other and we could know that's that one patient. That's that one patient that drives us all batty. It's going to be a long procedure, and you and I could just look at each other and smile. And we know exactly what that means. We don't have to whisper about it. We don't have to, we can read each other's energy. There's no reason. And if there's something going on in your practice that needs to be addressed, we need to address it, because the patients feel that,
Absolutely.
And that's the experience that they're getting. And then we wonder why another reason why they want to come to the dentist. Well, if it's not a great place to go and they're putting drills and needles in their mouths, of course they don't want to go, so.
I hear you. So I have one last question for you. And this question, I think everybody is interested in. Can you share some strategies that will make it more likely for the team to finish up to leave the office on time? Invariably, it becomes almost a war zone. When somebody's dragging their feet and everybody else wants to leave, and it can be a little, let's say, ticklish. Ticklish. That's a good way to say it, for sure. Well, it really starts from the beginning. So it starts from training. When we bring on new employees, one of the places we drop the ball is training in the dental office. Anybody listening to this, put yourself back to your very first day at your dental office. It was like getting thrown to the wolves. Here's where we keep everything. Here's where everything's stocked. Here's how you answer the phones. Here's what the doctor wants. Here's the insurances we belong to. Go. So when we don't train our employees well, they don't know what's expected from them. They don't know necessarily how to do things well. It makes some people less efficient than other people. So some people have to pick up the slack. So we want to look at our onboarding first and just the training. The second thing is then to regularly cross-train. We tend to, when we're busy, like if a dental assistant comes up to me at the end of the night and I'm buried
doing insurance claims and calling next day appointments or whatever. And the assistant says, can I help? When I'm in the thick of it, I don't have time to train the dental assistant to do it because I'm in the thick of it. I'm stressed and I'm trying to get out of there. So now the dental assistant's sitting around waiting for me to finish instead of being able to jump in and help. So efficiently and effectively cross-training so that if I'm done in the front, I can run in back and help turn over rooms. If they're in back, they can run up front and help call patients tomorrow or whatever the case may be, which then leads to the third thing, which is really having a process outlined for throughout the day procedures so that I actually learned this from my daughter, who was a dental assistant for a little while. She worked for her dad, who's a dentist. And I said to her, tell me your reason for being on top of everything you do throughout the day. What's your goal? And she said, to get out of here on time at night. Her whole goal all day was to get out on time. So if the whole team knows that throughout the day, if it means take out the trash in the middle of the day, because it makes sense, help stock the rooms now, like we don't have to wait to the end of the day to do everything. And I'm not trying to say like everybody should be rushing to get out at 5 o'clock, but if we all understand, here's the things that have to get done. And it's your time to, I'm doing this, you take out the trash, you fill the toilet paper. None of us like some of these things, but if we all jump in and do it and we all have the right attitude, we're all going to get out of here at the end of the day together.
I love that, Laura. I think that we need to recognize that every member of the team is equally important and of equal value. So, if every team member sits down and they can speak among each other and decide who can do what, based on your strengths, based on, how efficient you are with various things, we can collaborate. Yeah. The thing is, many times we don't have a cohesive team.
Right.
And as a result, there are challenges. And you made a very salient point. If someone feels burdened because the other people around aren't as up to scratch yet because they're learning, then somebody can feel stressed out or overwhelmed. And in many offices, it's training on the job that occurs. Mm-hmm. So things like Front Office Rock, like Dane, really provides that cherry on top. So that people can begin to, sharpen their swords. Yep. While they're working during the day, they can improve themselves in the evening. And I think that's a win-win situation. Don't you agree? I
agree. And I think the one other thing too is the more you're in your job, this is what I tried to do when I was doing my training. The more you've been doing it, as long as you've been doing it, the less you remember what it was like in the beginning. So when you work in a dental office, it's like going to a foreign country. I mean, the language we use, the procedures, the codes, and so having some training available for new employees or new team members that starts with the basic, because we have to learn in a gradient. Many times they shake their head. Yes, they understand, but they only understand 50% of what you just told them because we've been doing it for so long.
That's so true.
allowing them the ability to learn the basics, then it can grow from there. And then we've got a high performing team where everybody understands the foundation. But when we throw too much at them in the beginning, or we don't train well, one of my big things is starting with why. Why is this important? Every task that you do in the dental office, if I were to say to you, why do you do this? It shouldn't just be because we've always done it this way. Right. You should be able to tell me it's for patient experience, to make sure our practice is efficient, to make sure we're OSHA, whatever there should be a why to everything you do. And if your team member doesn't know that, you got to go back to the basics to say, why is it important we do this every day, So training's a big thing.
And I would put an exclamation mark after that statement. I agree with you 100%.
Awesome. Laura, we're on the same page.
We are definitely on the same page, girl, in the same book. So as I come to the end of my podcast, I always have a quote. Now, sometimes my guest provides the quote. Sometimes I provide the quote. Do you have a quote that you'd like to share with us today?
I do.
Please share it with us.
So I talk to dentists all the time who say to me, well, Laura, if I invest in my team members and then they leave, that's a waste of money. Like if I send them to a course, if I send them to training, if I buy training, then it's a waste of money. So there's a quote by Henry Ford that said, I'd rather train somebody and have them leave than not train them and have them stay. And that's exactly it, right? Because you've got people on your team that need training, and I'd rather have somebody trained and only be with me for a year than somebody never trained and around for 20. So that's my quote from Henry Ford that I love.
Love, love, love it, girl. Same colored ink in the same book, same paragraph. Same
I love
page.
it. I love it.
Listen, this has been awesome. I have one request to make of you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Drum roll.
Okay.
At some point in the future, you'll come back and share with us again. This was awesome.
I would love it. I would love it. I would love it. And I'd love to have you to California sometime. And I'd love to come out to Jamaica and visit your practice or come speak at one of your events one day.
We are just going to have to make that happen, aren't we?
All right. Sounds like a good deal. I love it.
All right. Wonderful. And there you have it, extreme customer service. Oh, Laura had so many pearls, but here's just one or two I want to leave with you. How do you know that you are practicing extreme customer service? Think of treating each patient the way you treat your mom or your grandmother. If it's raining, hold an umbrella, whatever needs to happen to make that person feel supported, right? And remember to smile. Hey, we are in the smile business, so we ought to lead the pack when it comes to smiling. No whispering necessary, right? And the most valuable team member is one who is cross-trained. Listen, life is better when we live, learn, and grow together. See you the next time.